What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. We're back in the garage, the 135, working on it again. Lots of work left to do on this car. However, we do have a couple of parts that came in, so we're gonna install those today. And we're also gonna talk a little bit about the direction that I think I'm gonna take with this car in the rear quarters. However, I want you guys to chime in and tell me what you think. I'm pretty sure I have a good idea as what the answer is gonna be, but still, you guys know that I like to include you in some of these decisions, if not all of them, whenever I can. And your insight is always very meaningful to me. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. First, let's look at some of the stuff that we're gonna be installing today. So the most obvious thing is going to be the rear axle back from Super Sprint. Now, I ordered this from the guys over at Turner Motorsports. Got it here in about 2 weeks, so pretty quick, and it did come direct from Italy. Super Sprint has been around for a really long time, and they make good exhaust systems for these cars. In terms of options that I had for the 1M conversion, there really weren't that many available options on the market right now for a rear section. So this was just the most obvious answer. One thing that I will mention is this exhaust is more of like a slip-on style. So you would slip it over and then clamp it down over the existing mid pipe. And then obviously with the rear section we have here, this would slip onto that. However, my current 135 exhaust setup has a bolt-in connection that uses a gasket sort of like this. So more than likely we're gonna have to do some custom work here where we either weld on a flange or we just straight up weld the pipes together and we cut off the connection on the existing mid pipe. But we will see when that time comes. I think for today we're just gonna get things sort of lined up, put it onto the car, and see if this even does line up to the 135 midsection that I currently have by VRSF. Real quick, you guys, today's video is actually sponsored by Simply Carbon Fiber. Big shout out to these guys for always supporting the channel, but they are doing a Black Friday sale. That Black Friday sale is happening now until November 25th. There's gonna be a link down in the description to get you guys 70% off of all products from Simply Carbon Fiber. These make fantastic gifts, especially with the holiday season coming up. I have their slim carbon fiber wallet, which has cash in the back, cards in the center. It's got a slit right here so you can easily access your cards. I'm also rocking their iPhone case. Really, really nice carbon fiber, super durable case. I've had this on my phone for over 6 months and I absolutely love it. And lastly, I also have this beautiful watch by them. It's got forged carbon fiber on the inside, gold with a black strap, black leather strap. It looks really, really good. So big shout out to those guys for always supporting the channel. Please go show them your support. And remember, 70% off of all products from now until November 25th using the link in the description. Thank you, Simply Carbon Fiber, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back into it. Another update, I'm still waiting on one more part for the battery for the 1M conversion. I do have some of the new pieces on. This is the 1M positive lead. I do have this guy. So these are all extended now. The other ones were much shorter. I do have to actually extend this piece because this piece goes to all the way to the front of the car. So rather than running an entire new battery cable to the front of the car, we just cut, solder, cover up, and extend this piece so it'll reach over here. The battery will sit over on this side. I did end up getting a 1M battery, which is a little bit shorter. So this is the new correct battery. And then I do have to get one of these. I have to get an extra one of these as well. From what I understand, that part that is coming from Germany, the negative lead should be here in a couple of days. Crossing my fingers that it gets here sooner than later because I do have other videos that I have to make and I need power in this car. So we will make an updated video talking a little bit about that stuff when the rest of the parts come in. A couple other updates that you guys have been involved with or asking about are the headlights. So I know some of you guys really like these headlights. Some of you agree with me on going with the OEM headlights. Like I said before, there's really nothing wrong with these headlights. I just feel like the OEM headlights fit this conversion much better. I'm not particularly crazy about the carbon fiber eyelids on this, and I'm not particularly crazy about the LED rings. They're just a little bit too aftermarket for me, in my opinion. I did actually order 2 used LCI 135 headlights. However, both of them arrived and they were heavily damaged. Way worse condition than what I thought they were going to be, so I ended up just returning them. I'm still trying to find the right solution for that. Whether I just find someone locally and trade them, or I just literally go ahead and buy a brand new set of OEM new LCI headlights, which will not be cheap. You know, we're not really cutting corners on this build, so I kind of feel like it might be worth it. I don't know, honestly, I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna do with that yet, but I do think regardless, the OEM headlights are just gonna look a lot better. The other thing that I wanted to quick talk to you guys about is if you watched the front end conversion video, you'll recall that on the driver's side, I was confused because we had removed the horns and then there was this empty space, and I was like, well, what could go there? I did a little bit of research online and found that Musselman sold that dual oil cooler extension setup. However, I was mistaken that the 1M had 2 oil coolers. It actually has an auxiliary radiator on that side. So with the 1M, you actually end up running an oil cooler on the passenger side and then the auxiliary radiator on this side, which makes a little bit more sense. So I ended up canceling that Musselman oil cooler extension kit and ended up going with just an OEM 1M auxiliary radiator for this side. So it'll literally be just like OEM 1M. I think that that's a bit more fitting, again, with the theme, trying to keep things as OEM or OEM plus as possible. And from what I understand, the dual oil cooler setup really isn't necessary. This car is going to benefit more from having the auxiliary radiator on that side. So it was an easy decision to make. The auxiliary radiator, I will put the part number down below, but I think it was like $200 for that as well. So that will get sorted. The other thing that I'm going to talk to you guys today about is the rear quarter situation. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this conversion. You can buy Jay's flares. Now, Jay's flares, a lot of people are running those. They are made out of fiberglass, and essentially what would happen is you would end up cutting the car here. You would end up riveting, doing panel bond, fiberglass, a little bit of Bondo work to make everything fit over and look like a 1M. Now, the problem with that is that you are using a fiberglass flare, and they can fail if, you know, the tire impacts that flare hard enough. I've seen it happen. In fact, I saw it happen very recently to a buddy of mine online on Instagram who literally just got his 1M conversion done. He did the fiberglass flares. I personally don't think that they were done correctly, but basically all it took was for that tire to tap the fender well on the inside, and it cracked all the way through. So he has to have the whole thing redone. Now, there are definitely different ways that you can go about installing those flares to make sure that they don't do that. You need to use a lot of metal on the inside, do a lot of welding, and you need to use actual fiberglass, not fiberglass filler or just Bondo, to make that bond actually work and be strong. However, I've sort of been, I guess, thinking and overthinking about my decision to go with those flares, and I'm possibly going to stick with my original idea and order the OEM quarters. Again, we've put so much time and money into doing all of the OEM parts on this car that I'd be lying if I said I felt like I wasn't cutting corners a little bit by just going with the flares. So obviously, if we get the real OEM quarter, it is literally the entire quarter. So what you would end up doing is chopping. It would be a glass out job. You'd have to cut the entire quarter panel out, and you would replace literally the entire thing. The other option is to actually just cut the new quarter and weld it on and then finish it and make it look good. So there's a couple of ways that you can do it with the OEM quarters, but the obvious thing here is, you know, they're special order from Germany. For one, they are not cheap. They're about $1,500 per side, so that's $3 grand just for the raw material. And the other concern is availability, like how long would it actually take to get them? It could be months. I really don't know. So I'm sort of in this predicament where, do I want to get this car done before February? The chances of that happening if I order the real OEM quarters I don't know. It's gonna be tough, man, because not only is it gonna be tough to get the parts, but the bodywork for that is extensively more than what it would be if I just got the flares. Playing devil's advocate here, you could still get the J's flares and make them work. You could definitely make them much stronger. And there are literally hundreds of clones out there that are running those flares. They do work if you have them done properly. You have to do it properly. So we could certainly still get away with doing the flares. I think that what it's gonna come down to is I already ordered the flares and they should be here soon. When I get them, I'm going to look at them, hold them, feel them, get some second opinions, and kind of go from there. If I feel like it's gonna be something that we can make work and it will last and be durable, then we will move ahead with the flares. If not, I think I might just go ahead and order the quarters, but again, I can't guarantee when it's gonna be done, and this project might just sit for a long time if that happens. But you know the saying, buy once, cry once, do it right the first time. So that's sort of the predicament I'm in right now. You guys weigh in down below. I'm sure the majority of you guys are gonna be like, just go ahead and do the OEM quarters, and I completely agree. If I wasn't on this sort of time crunch and trying to make things happen within like the next 4 months. But anyways, that's where we're at right now. We'll see what happens when I get the J's flares, and I'll make a video showing you guys those flares and maybe get a second opinion. We'll go from there. Another little package came in from IND today as well. We will unbox that. It's actually the side markers for these fenders. They look pretty cool. Oh snap, these look good. I ended up going with just the gloss black painted ones from IND. I think these look super clean, and for obvious reasons, they're gonna fit this build pretty well. In the other garage, I have the actual gaskets that go in between this and the fender. Is it the right side? Oh, I think I'm on the wrong side. We'll get an idea of, you know, what they'll look like once they're on there. So I think the black makes perfect sense. It's gonna look really good. I do know that we need to flip the wires around on the actual plug in order for this to be functional. So once we get all the battery stuff, we'll plug these guys in and make sure that they work and everything is cool. And then I'll get that front headlight situation sorted as well. All right, man, first things first, let's get this exhaust on. It's gonna be pretty cool to see the quad tips coming out of the rear of this car. Now, if you guys saw in the last episode of building this car, we put on the entire rear section to accept the quad exhaust. So we now have the new crash bar that has all of the OEM locations for the 1M exhaust system. The only question that I have is how is this going to line up to the stock 135 exhaust system? I've also got a couple of the OEM BMW exhaust hangers. These are the exact ones that are used on the 1M. And as always, guys, I have a sheet down in the description, a Google sheet that I share with you guys that has all of the parts that I ordered from BMW in order to make this conversion happen. Let's get the car jacked up onto jack stands and get underneath. So we've got a hanger there, and you'll see how that connects over here. It's got that flange, which would originally just bolt right up to it, but we don't have that on the new exhaust. So more than likely, it's gonna be some sort of custom setup that goes into that. Whether we decide to keep this or go with a different method, we'll see. Under here on the new crash bar, we have new hangers where everything is going to mount up now, and it should be pretty self-explanatory. I think the best way to go about doing this is to literally just assemble the axle back outside of the car and see how things line up when we place it underneath. Pretty sure it should go just like this. And then we'll just leave this loose while it's under there so we can move things around. Dude, how cool does it look with the exhaust tips coming out nice and staggered like that? Yeah, I think it's gonna look pretty cool. So one thing that does look a little weird, obviously there's no diffuser right now. I was gonna do carbon fiber, I decided not to, and I ordered the OEM diffuser, and I think that I'm just going to paint match the OEM diffuser. So it's just all going to be paint. So everything fits perfectly. As I suspected. And so here is the VRSF mid-pipe section coming all the way from the downpipes. It is a single mid, which I want to keep. I want to run single. And you'll see that we basically just have like a chunk missing out of this. So if I had to guess, I would say the 1M factory exhaust is probably just longer and doesn't connect there. And then you would just simply cut that exhaust and slip it onto this right over here. But with our weird Frankenstein system, what we're gonna have to do is simply just weld in a little pipe going from there to there. Might even cut that a little bit earlier and do like a V-band setup and potentially even cut up here and do a V-band there. We ended up doing a V-band setup over here and I like that a lot better. It's just a stronger connection and it looks 10 times better. Not a big fan of these type of connections right here. The nice part is it's a straight shot and everything lines up, so we're good to go. But yeah, it is looking awesome under here. Everything is brand new. Looks so freaking nice, man. Can't wait to get this thing completed. Tips look pretty cool. They are like a chrome finish. If I had the option to choose, I would have done black, but in this point, right now, beggars cannot be choosers. This was literally all I could get my hands on in a decent time frame. Another thing I wanted to mention is I did listen to you guys and ended up getting some hood latches. There were some people talking about the carbon fiber hood and how you have to run latches. I agree. After doing a little bit of research, I definitely don't want this hood to be flying up on me, which kind of sucks, man. I'm not a big fan of hood latches, but whatever. I think I'm actually going to paint match that hood. I know a lot of people were like, leave it exposed, but I don't know, man. I just think that it's going to look better just matching the paint. And then I'll just leave these guys exposed up here, and I think that that'll be a really tasteful setup. Now the carbon fiber looks amazing, but in the end, dude, really trying to do just like an OEM, very, very clean style of what this car can be. In other news, we ended up getting the 513Ms refinished. I'll show you guys what they look like. Can ignore that. So yeah, here you guys go. Here are the wheels back from Prince Wheels. They have a fresh powder coat on them and they look freaking amazing, dude. Immaculate. They literally look brand new, all four of them. So, and they did a really good job on the paint match. The 513M paint is a kind of peculiar paint. It's not silver, it's not gunmetal, it's like right in between. And so I really wanted to make sure that we nailed the paint match and it looks freaking awesome. It's even got like a little bit of metal flake in it and it's just gonna look so good on that car. If you guys saw the last video that we did for the rear end conversion, we ended up throwing these on and the fitment was just perfect. Might have to run a little bit of spacer on it, 5-10 mil, but it's gonna look really freaking good with these wheels. So anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up this episode of this little build. I'm beginning to learn with a project like this, it just takes time. Like there's really a lot of things that you need to wait on, and especially right now, like some of these parts are just hard to get and it just takes time. So I've got to be patient and I really don't want to rush this build. I mean, at the same time, I want it done in like a reasonable time frame, but I want to do it right and I don't want to rush it. Things are looking really good. We are making progress. We're just sort of at a standstill right now, but you guys tell me down below what rear quarter flare setup you think I should do. Should I do the fiberglass, send it, try and make it work, make it as strong as possible? I do believe that we can make it really strong, but it will never be the strength of metal. The wait could be a long time to get the OEM quarters. I don't know. I'm gonna ask more people, do a bit more research and see what I come up with. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of clones running the J Meadow fiberglass flares. So I do believe that the product is fine. I think it just comes down to who applies the product and how they do it. This was something that originally I was going to try and tackle myself. I still might, but man, for the first time ever doing this, I really don't want to mess it up and I want to make sure it's done well and strong and it's going to last. You know, I don't want to put this together and just kind of shit the bed on the rear quarters when we did so well on everything else. So anyways, you guys, I want to thank you so much for watching the video and following along on this series. This is a really exciting build for me. We got a lot of stuff on deck. It is going to be fun. I appreciate you guys. Grab some merch if you want to. Links are down in the description. Hit up that Simply Carbon Fiber. Big shout out to those guys for supporting the channel. And of course, big thank you to you guys for always supporting me. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.